It's been after a long time that we at Olys Advertising Roundtable are hosting an online, what we call our ad addas. Two things have happened since the last time we went live, that is to say, we were on air. There has been one major change, which I think I must share with everybody, those who come and listen to our ad addas, online chat shows, is that we have now formally become a trust. It's now called Olys, the Advertising Roundtable Charitable Trust. Now that helps us to obviously get members to pay and get sponsors to pay for all the stuff that we do within course for the community, which is very important. So what we have done is that there is a trust registered. We now have a bank account, and we are now opening up chapters in different cities. It's almost following the Rotary International template. So the first chapter that has been set up is the Kolkata chapter of Olys Advertising Roundtable. And these chapters, they have an elected membership, elected committee brought in from the members, the paid members. And there are two kinds of member. There's a permanent member, there's an annual member, like so. And their chapters are free to run their plan, their whatever they want to do, as long as it stays within the large ambit of advertising, brand, marketing, creativity, whatever. So the Kolkata chapter is already has already taken off, and the first event, first offline event, real-time live event, so to say, has already happened in Kolkata, and they are planning more such sessions, which includes an exhibition on calendars sometime in winter, and there is talk of putting together an exhibition on the works of the famous art person, illustrator, well, the man who a lot of people say had been the within course the advertising design guru of Shatrugit, Mr. Onu Damunshi. These are all in the pipeline, and that's where it is. Now, coming to today's chat show, we are going to discuss the Air India new logo, whatever it means. When I say whatever it means, it means that ever since this new logo has been exposed, launched, whatever word you use, there has been a lot of reactions from the public as a whole. Not just advertising people, people who regularly fly, who work in different industries. Everybody has had a point of view regarding the new logo. In fact, when we put this up in our group page in Facebook, after a long time, we noticed there was a huge thread happening. And a lot of them were from advertising, a lot of them were not from advertising. And when you looked at the Twitter function that were happening, you'll find that everybody was talking about the new logo. And for some reason, it was not getting a hands-on, hands-down approval. They said that, well, where's the Maharaja? That was a good one. Why are we changing? And what difference does it make only to change the logo? Look at their service, and so forth. It did not win hands down, for sure. Now, maybe it will tomorrow. Somebody said that, you old guys don't understand. You're still living in the world of the old Air India, the Maharaja, and so on and so forth. But this is something that has got to do with the younger generation. So when they grow up with this, so we guys are not going to fly for very long. They are the ones who are going to fly. So this is going to make a lot of sense to them. So keeping that in mind, and we thought this was a wonderful opportunity to have a adda on the subject of the new Air India logo, much talked about. So we put together three of our advertising friends, Mr. Manoj Sputnik Sengupta from Bangalore, Mr. Syed Usman from Gurgaon, and we have a youngster from the next generation, Mr. Abhishek Gupta. So let's go straight into the chat, and it's a very interesting chat show, which I can tell you. And let's listen to what these people have to say. So let's move into the chat and where we will be introducing the speakers, the participants, and then we would hope that once you see this, you will also start putting your comments together and share this YouTube, pass it on to your friends and colleagues. Let's keep the discussion going. That's the whole idea of this roundtable business that we are into. Thank you. All right. Hello, everybody. Today we are at Olys after a long time discussing something on what we call our ad addas. Now, as I've been telling you, the subject of today's discussion is to talk about the new Air India logo. And I've got three of my very old friends who are here. So first, let me put a one-liner on each of them so that you know who are they and what they'll be discussing. So Manoj, I like to start with him, Manoj Sputnik. He's more known as Sputnik, and he says to look up about him, one should go to the Facebook and LinkedIn. He's very clear about that. But I must tell you something about Manoj, that Manoj and I started together when we were in the Kolkata scene of advertising in the 80s, till it slowly started dying out. And like 95% of our generation, we immediately left Kolkata and went to different places. He was Bangalore, and I got, well, Delhi. I'm not using the other word. I was Delhi. So, and that's where we are. And we and Manoj and I have kept up over the period of time. Manoj still loves to return to Kolkata whenever he can. And he has kochuris in the morning. And he also goes to a place called, yeah, we are now talking like bongs, and he also goes to a place called Kona Ka Dukan, Kona Dukan, and that is where you get wonderful bread with butter and tea and kachuris. So that's Manoj, and importantly, Manoj is into running sessions on brand. He's a brand specialist guy, and even more important, he's into the theater. He's heavily into the theater. I think he does more theater than less of advertising. Am I right, Manoj? That's absolutely okay. Absolutely. Then I have Sayyid Usman, who is sitting there with a very fancy partition behind him. Usman and I go back since the time I moved to Delhi, that is in the early 90s, part of the family. And Usman then went on to, when I knew him first, he was a trainee with, I think, O&M. And then he went and joined Dar and Hoon, DNH. And incidentally, he has got one major point to his credit. The first film that was ever made with Amitabh Bachchan, modeling for a brand, that was BPL. And the entire concept and the shooting was by Usman. And Usman went to London. That's where you see, if you can trace that old film, Amitabh Bachchan coming out of a metro and all that. So we had a long session after he came back to say how did it go and what happened when people saw him in the subway, Amitabh Bachchan coming out. So that's Usman. Then he went on to head the creative team at J. Walter Thompson. This was still J. Walter Thompson and not J. Wonderman Thompson that it has happened now, whatever wonder it is. So, and then from J. Walter Thompson, he then moved on to went off on his own. He first started a shop called The Honk. And The Honk has now become Mud Pie. And so he runs Mud Pie out of Gurgaon. And he also runs online training sessions called the Crop Circle. He teaches advertising, he and his friends, which includes me, teach, things to do with advertising. Now, the last gentleman who is still, he is not visible because he is in transit. And as soon as he reaches his destination, as I said, we'll be able to see him, is Abhishek Gupta. Now, Abhishek Gupta, there is something very interesting about him. He's a third generation advertising professional. It's very funny, but he is a third generation advertising professional. His grandfather and a partner of his grandfather, they both had started an agency in Kolkata, I think way back sometime in the 40s or some point of time. And the lead was taken up by Abhishek's father. So his grandfather, well, bongs do get into business, let me tell you. We have had, but now they are not into business anymore for different reasons. But in those days, advertising was a good business. So that's how Abhishek's grandfather came in. Then Abhishek's father, Taposh Gupta, who and I have been actually literally what you use the word chaddi buddies. We have played road cricket, by-lane cricket, and broken window glasses, and ran. All that has happened in Bhavali Mondol Road, all places in Taliganj. And Taposh then went on to head Clarion in Kolkata. Then he was heading Tarasena, or it was Tarasena, then Tarasena McCann. Then, like all of us, the whole Jing Bang lot shifted. He also shifted to Delhi. And as I said, he runs a very successful agency called Confluence. So I've got Abhishek. I said, Taposh, I don't want you. Can I have your son, please? Let's have some younger people. We are like, like, chalo. I'm still doing it because I'm looking for people to handle this Olys. That's about it. But there is one reason I think I'll tell you why I was insisting on Abhishek is that ever since this logo, the new logo came out, there has been a lot of talk happening. And, in that Olys Advertising Roundtable group page, there was a huge traction, long thread. Most of them had said, what have you done? This is disaster. Somewhere somebody popped up and said that, look, I know we are feeling bad, because we are the old generation. We are not even generation Zen, X, Y, Z, whatever. We are even beyond that. But please understand, Air India is looking at the future, because how long are we going to fly? And as if we have already been discarded. So this is something where the youngsters, this is really going to appeal to them. So that's why I wanted Abhishek to be here, because he's the guy who is going to fly more than us than we have flown in our lifetime. And before we get into, can I just quickly
Shrita,
read?
I have one quick point. I
Yeah,
think the
Bolo.
introduction was more about my father rather than myself.
Oh
Yeah.
So
my
I'd like
God.
to just
For
fill you
that.
in.
He's under
So
tremendous
no, no.
pressure
So
now.
no,
Carry
no,
on. My
and
mistake.
zero
My mistake.
pressure, zero pressure. So just to give you a perspective,
Yeah.
before joining BI Confluence, I have worked in the industry for close to 12 to 15 years. I was working first with Havas, then with Publicis, handling and heading the Nestle businesses from India as well as APAC. Then I went on to join Ogilvy, where I headed the entire Coca-Cola as well as Philips. And then it was a personal decision to come and see how to take this business to the next level. So times change, generations change, and how you take the business into the future was basically the perspective.
I am
Fair?
totally with you. I'm totally with you. And I'm glad you said all that, because, well, point made. But now to go back to, there was a very interesting article recently. Abhishek, I must tell you, অনেক কিছু করেছো, whatever that means, which you have understood, and Manosh has also understood. So I told him,
No, no.
Usman, I told him that
Absolutely.
बहुत कुछ कर लिया तूने in Bengali. That's what I told him just now. Okay, now to go through that article by Santosh Desai, let me just read a few lines from that, and then I'm going to leave it to you, kind of a free discussion on three aspects. This is what Santosh Desai has written. In fact, he says the Maharaja's new clothes. This is based on that poem. And he says that Air India's rebranding exercise was an unenviable task because of the Maharaja's iconic recall value. But erasing the old logo and the problematic past was not where the effort faltered. For all the talk of boundless opportunities and confidence, the new design doesn't convey a clear sense of direction for the brand. Now, I think he has gone on to say much more after that, but this is where I think we have to stop. Otherwise, we'll be doing more Santosh Desai and less of y'all. So, three aspects. Why has there been a kind of outrage saying that where is the Maharaja? And what happened? There was that man that with an arrow which used to be on the tail of the aircraft. That, yeah.
Centaur.
And yeah, and what happened? The windows which had a jharoka kind of a Air India windows, from the outside. It had a changeover in 1980. I think a San Francisco firm did all that. But having done all that, by the way, McCann, I should have got somebody from McCann, but then I thought let's do it independent of McCann, because they are the ones who got the business, and they made a lot of noise about it, very rightly. So what has actually happened? Why is everybody not so happy about the new change? Mano, should you like to take that? Is it affecting the brand?
Yeah, I think, okay, I'm giving very subjective, personalized, points. Somewhere, I think Indians are change averse. We love everything within the framework of our familiarity. I'm sure the entire human species does that, but I think we are more, and we are kind of bogged down with our legacy and this and that, the heritage, the joint family system and the feudalistic baggage. Somewhere, no matter how modern we sound, maybe it resides. I'm saying maybe, I don't know. It resides somewhere in us. Obviously, to overhaul, and I'm using the word specifically overhaul, a legacy brand is one of the most thankless jobs that you can do. I recall I was with one of the Tata Group companies that time when Tata went into a rebranding, and then there was a TBM, Tata Business Excellence Model, being rolled out internally, and there was a huge, cry that of what is this? It's doesn't represent anything. What is wrong with the earlier logo, etc., etc. But over a period of time, it has, withstood the test of time, and it is fairly well accepted by all of us. So I think the test of the proof of the pudding will lie in the brand logo is only the face of an entity. And if I may humanize the brand, it's my face and somewhat appearance maybe. But what hides behind that face, how I roll it out, how I treat people, etc., that is the larger promise which the brand is meant to amplify and ensure that I experience that promise. The logo is just one element. It's important because my face is as important as, whatever, possibly more important than anything else, because that's my first point of recognition. The challenge of the Tatas will be to create a promise around this new logo and then make it experiential so that people will say, yeah, it's been a change for the better. And somewhere, I think, the Tatas or Air India management has consciously trying to step away from an Indian career to a global entity, which is owned by an Indian company or India-based company, if I may call it so. For a conglomerate like Tata, you cannot go to UK and take over Land Rover, etc., and not face issues. They had tremendous problems. But today, over a period of time, the world is accepting their brands or their products which have been manufactured outside of India, and it's doing for whatever it's worth. It's running the business. So I feel that maybe it was so close to us that we are kind of, very subjectively expert that how dare you do it without my approval. And and the second thing is that somewhere I think the Tatas, if one has to explain a logo with so much, support, maybe it's not working. To replace the Maharaja, the hospitality, the regal hospitality that the Maharaja connotes, to what? Okay, super efficient airlines. Forget the laid back Maharaja style of, wining dining. You come back to a super airline, efficient with the current times, which is bound to kind of, we see that time moves towards west. But over here, maybe a reverse psychology that will take you to, progress by flying east. And I'm just kind of thinking aloud, there could have been many more jumbled thoughts. But somewhere, the bottom line point is that if I have to explain that, then the icon has failed to do it. And that's where possibly, maybe, what is that golden, why the windows, all those things are being explained now. The other thing is that, let's not forget, the Maharaja is the mnemonic, it is not the logo. Okay? So, from whatever little I've heard and gathered, they are not ditching the Maharaja. I don't know whether that's a face-saving thing after the huge outcry, but they are contemporizing it. So I don't know whether it will be a Saif Ali Khan coming back and not the instead of the pot belly. It's so some kind of I've just taken his because he is actually a true descendant of a royal family of India, whether we call him Maharaja or Nawab or whatever. And he epitomizes something that the current generation aspires. Right.
Right.
So, in a nutshell, I think maybe in all fairness, we need to vent our angst about letting go of of a legacy brand that we were so close to. Though I'm not so sure how many of us actually have experienced it.
Right, right. I think Manoj, that's a point well made. You said it right that if we have such a lot of explanation to be done, then somewhere down the line something has gone wrong. But Usman, before I come to you, from this point, I want to get Abhishek in because all these things we are talking, we are stuck to the Maharaja or we are stuck to that old logo and everything. Um, your generation possibly has not been so deep into that whole thing. What kind of a difference are you seeing? What are you reading out of the new Air India logo? The logo change, which is of course also a philosophy change. So when you change the logo, it's a new vision that you're really underlining. Yeah, Abhishek, go.
I couldn't hear that, Shujita. Could you just repeat, please?
Okay, I said that we have all been stuck in time, and therefore we are a lot of creating a lot of no, why is it being changed? Theek to tha. But your generation, particularly you who have been deep into advertising for and the whole marketing and branding business, how are you reading the new logo? Because you probably are not as agitated as our generation or one generation below us are. So how are you reacting to the new logo? Because a
Sure.
new logo, as I said, is a new vision. It's a statement.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Uh, I'll try to answer it first, like a consumer first.
Yeah.
Okay. We've all been flying different kinds of airlines for the last 15, 20 years. And Air India, to me personally, has never been a go-to choice. Okay. Across many aspects, time, experience, the overall delivery of the brand, the kind of elements it has, and more so from a consumer uh, kind of an approach. I have always preferred airlines like whether it's an Indigo, which gives me efficiency of time so that I can reach my meetings on time, or whether it's Vistara because it gives me a luxurious experience. And at the same time, it gives me, efficiency when it comes to travel destinations, timing, etc., etc. So I've had some terrible experiences with Air India as well. But that aside, I'm sure that happens with every airline here and there. But point being this, that I particularly was never a fan of the whole Air India aura, especially in the last 10 to 12 to 15 years. I mean, childhood days of flying Air India is like a distant memory. So not really, married to that. But from the time I have started working, interacting, traveling on business, traveling on leisure, Air India has never been a great choice. And I'll be very, very honest about it. So therefore, to me, the whole Maharaja or the regal brand experience, etc., actually holds no meaning, because if the brand is not connecting to me at a service providing level, then I don't really care about the trappings of a brand around it. Having said that, when I see the new logo, I find it quite interesting and quite simple, and really it doesn't give me a futuristic vision or anything like that. To me, it just clearly looks like they do not want to really attach themselves to that old legacy in a very, very strong way, unless they come out with an advertising campaign or something else which does connect back the entire legacy. To me, branding, etc., is becoming easier and simpler and much, much more simple and broken down. I completely agree with Manashda when he says that if a logo needs to be explained through multiple manifestations, whether written or whether a TVC, etc., then it's not a great logo, or it's they're trying too hard. For example, I'll just say, what does when you see the logo Uber, the Uber logo, which is so iconic today. It's such a simple typeface. It's such a simple logo. It doesn't carry hidden motives. It doesn't carry futuristic visions or any kind of massive storylines around it. It's just a simple black color box with the Uber font written inside it. It's a simple, clean, easy logo. To me personally, the Air India logo is quite nice. I think it's simple. It conveys the fact that they don't want to be associated with the past glory and the heritage, and they want to move into a braver tomorrow. If they give me a fantastic experience, which has not been the case with me for Air India, I'll maybe rediscover the joy of flying with Air India back again, which I haven't. And I'll be very, very honest. I have never been a fan of Air India from the time I have started being able to afford a ticket myself. I mean, little memories of when I was a kid traveling to Kashmir and all that, that's completely, smoky in my head. So therefore, I really do think that if they are able to bring services like the Vistaras of the world, the best of the Vistara luxury, the efficiency that Indigo brings, I think it'll be a great, great choice for an average Indian looking for airline options. That's
So
what
let,
I think,
so
Sudhita.
let me put it to you this way, Abhishek. The logo at least has brought you to a stage who is not a fan or a lover of Air India so far, very clearly,
Right.
that looking at considering the way it goes in the next couple of months, years, whatever, you think, yeah, let's give it a check. We can give it a try. Let's see if it all works out. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I,
yeah.
I would always say that I would always say the Indian Maharaja holds absolutely no significance to me. Because when I step inside the airline and I come across these rude air hostesses and the seats which are, torn and things like that, which was the case earlier. I haven't flown Air India in the last couple of years from the COVID times. Nothing connects to my head. What is the Maharaja saying? What is it that I'm getting inside the airline? They're just wishy-washy stories of advertising and marketing people. As a customer, I don't get it. I would rather go inside an Indigo, which doesn't promise me regal ambience or doesn't show me any Maharajas of the world, but it just takes me from Delhi to Mumbai and from Mumbai to Delhi back. That's the only reason, one of the reasons for business trips. And if I'm going with my family, yeah, I'm sure that I'm assured that it'll reach on time. I get a decent meal. I'm all right. I don't get super luxury, but I don't feel that advertising कुछ और बोल रहा है मुझे कुछ और मिल रहा है. I don't get that feeling. But with Air India, I'm not so sure.
Okay, point taken. I think you have explained it very well, and this is what we were wanting to hear from you. Okay, now Usman, it's your show. What do you think of the entire creative exercise? And I'm going to ask you really to talk from the creative perspective of this new logo.
Actually, it's very interesting because in one of our courses, we touch upon these symbols or mascots as brands have developed over the years. What Manush was saying, he said something very, very important, that this is not the logo is something else and your mascot is something else. Like if you remember, there was Gattu for Asian Paints, and Asian Paint had its own identity. Or you had Fido for 7-Up. 7-Up had a logo. Michelin, that tire man, the bub. So all of these were characters that were created along with the identity, which was called the logo. And I think he pointed out that this, what we've seen, what they've revealed now is just the logo part of it. Though chances are that they would drop the Maharaja. And was just trying to think from their point of view, what would have happened. So I've traveled Air India a couple of times, and it always felt like you entered a government office. When you enter the plane, in a posh government office, the same smell, that same staleness was there.
I completely agree. Thank you. You've articulated fantastic well. It's very similar to entering an LIC office.
Right. So now certain people find comfort in that because they are used to that. For them, a government job is quite a big thing. But having said that, I was just trying to think what happened. So one point, as Abhishek pointed out, could have been in the theory behind that there will be a generation that doesn't even know Maharaja. So why are we bothering about us oldies who have this nostalgia and they don't like the airlines, but they remember the Maharaja? So I think somewhere they felt like if you're thinking 20 years hence or 50 years hence, after buying all those 500 planes, they're thinking long term. So they very soon this Maharaja would be over in the memories, and those people who remember Maharaja would be gone. So maybe that is one thing. Though over the period of time, see, Maharaja, what it stood for was, in a nutshell, I would say it stood for that we will treat you like a royalty. That was, it was what, it wasn't the Air India is the king. It was never that. And when I was doing this course, I saw a lot of very interesting stuff. They had fun with Maharaja. Maharaja in Egypt, Maharaja in Cairo, Maharaja in Tokyo. They were having fun with that brand and also conveying this whole message of come to India, you will be treated in a royal way. So that was the service part of Air India, which over a period of time, I think, suffered. And from a Maharaja, it became a Wazir. And from a Wazir, it became a court jester. And then everybody said, let's drop this guy. He's not working anymore. And the airlines went through a lot of trauma, as we know what happened with it. So somewhere they felt like, let's keep it away. I don't think they will bring him in any new avatar. And now coming only to the logo, I think it's insipid. I'm on Twitter. I'm active on Twitter. And you know, these news comes in seconds on Twitter. And Twitter is not the advertising fraternity. It is everybody there. So I get a lot of responses and reactions from people who are not from advertising. The way, so again, it is divided, obviously. There's a segment which anything that anybody does is about India suddenly. And there's a segment that is trying to analyze at why have they done this. And 80% of the people have not liked this logo. Because one, they're saying it just doesn't look modern enough. I mean, if you're in the airline business, either you're about comfort or you're about service or you're modern. Now you're getting a new fleet, you're revamping the brand, but your logo is somewhere stuck in the 80s. The kind of fonts they've used, the kind of symbol they've used, which nobody has understood what is it. Somebody said it looks like some Persian calligraphy because it has that little touch. Somebody said it looks like a politician's cap. It is like that. It is pointing in a very odd direction. But see, what happens is, what is an apple which has been bitten? It's just an apple. The logo will take meaning over a period of time of what they do, what Air India and the new avatar does. If they really revamp their planes, if they improve their service, if they don't have these very matron kind of air staff inside, it will start reflecting on this new identity. It start taking the new meaning, the new direction that they want. I'm sure they put it down that this is how they want the brand to move. So this new logo will kind of depends totally upon how they treat it. It can become a Nike swoosh over a period of time, or it might remain a very, very insipid kind of a logo where people don't really resonate with it.
Okay, let me ask you this question here. Go ahead.
Sujit, may I just...
please.
You know, Usman's comment about Persian calligraphy brings a naughty thought to my mind. Maybe that's the Tata's way of subtly reinforcing their genetic history. We are Parsis, you know, at the end of the day. You may call us Indians, but Parsi.
Absolutely. So, okay, now another thing, this is a general question too, that we can quickly take a call on each of us at a time. Do you think this whole thing has got slightly screwed up because they did this whole thing in a hurry? Because I saw a post by friend Alok Lal celebrating in Facebook that we have got the Tata businesses come to us, blah, blah, blah. Within 14 days, bang, the logo is out. Now, we consider, and all of us do, that when you are doing a thing like this, each logo has numerous extensions. Like, you know, your crockery, your badge, and particularly in airlines, so it's like from the tail to the head and everything that goes with it. Actually, we are not even, unfortunately, that those extensions have not been made visible to us. So we really don't know whether the teacup or whatever now this, is going to have some. Abhishek, I'll grant you one thing about Indigo. They claim that they serve the hottest coffee in the air. They actually do. They actually do. And Air India brings those fancy glasses and they put so little coffee and they have to keep saying that ek wo, that is the Indian way. Ek jara powder dijiye to, which means they're looking for that sachet, that milk sachet for powder. So there's some confusion. And of late, surprisingly, of late, after the takeover, I've been noticing a lot of galbar. Like, earlier on, you had one set of cabin crew who served the meal up to number seats. There was one crew from the front, and they met. If you notice, they used to meet midway and say that acha wo tumhare paas do non-veg, one veg, tera pani do. They would exchange and then they would go back. Now I find that there are, I think, unless they are sort of cutting cost, there are just one or two people who keep running from seat number 26 to seat number 5, and then they come back and then they miss out a few people. By the time the coffee is served, the plane is landed. So everything is suddenly wrapped up, which is absolutely obnoxious. And once I had told them, I said, let me check out their diabetic meal. So they gave me a diabetic meal. I said, not bad, let's try it again. But then I realized that on every flight, it is the same bloody menu here. So I wrote to them saying that, please take off this diabetic meal. I do not want this. They said, oh, fine, we'll give you regular meal. I said, yeah, give me a regular meal. But ever since then, I keep getting diabetic meal, which is, you get chilla and you get matar ki sabji. That's supposedly the diabetic meal with a chutney sandwich. And no mishtis, you get some stupid fruit. Anyway, but thing is, do you think they did this in a hurry? Is that the reason for this crash or what we are discussing? Manush, let's take it one by one.
You know what? Having worked for one of the Tata Group companies when their rebranding was happening, I have experienced their deliberateness in everything. Okay. But having seen the output of this, and I wasn't aware that when they the window of when they called for and when they announced, yeah, I mean, if that is the way they've gone about it, then I don't know what happened to the Tata deliberateness kind of this thing, and therefore maybe, I mean, I agree with all the comments that about the logo by itself is nothing outstanding. There could have been a little more, etc. But I come back to, the main point about the logo. As I said, it's, SRK and Amitabh Bachchan were all rejects in their initial days because of their face. They did not have the typical Punjab hero look, Punjabi hero. And look at where they are now. So the logo is just a visual hint of what I'm promising. And then comes the experience where the person will come and say, whether the logo is good or bad, I don't care. I love this airline and I will love their service and I will keep on experiencing it, which doesn't seem to be reflected in any of the speakers over here who have kind of commented on it. So that will be a challenge. And the other thing that I don't know whether they're running out of time for the license of the erstwhile logo. There must have been some kind of a period. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking aloud, and therefore, but if the government has no further interest in Air India, why would they want to even put that as a clause that by so and so time? So it could be a typical management pressure. Okay. The new guy comes in at the helm of Air India and says, man, I got to show results. The logo is the first thing that let's do. It's easier to do than actually overall the entire workforce and reorient the culturalization into what the Tatas would like to be. And that is so no amount of logo, until that has been done, and that actually we start experiencing that, because Air India has been into a lot of bad PR of late. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of done to target. I mean, it's just not a coincidence. And we all of us know how dirty corporate games can be. We may wear a three-piece suit and go to the Oberoi and the Taj to have our drinks, but
yeah.
So the other thing about Air India is that I don't think, and I'm reiterating this, I don't think they are really concerned about being an Indian airlines, but they want to be a global airlines at par with, let's say, an Emirates or a Singapore Airlines, Etihad, or whatever the names be. So they did not feel the need, and as I think it's come out very starkly over here, the need for the Maharaja in its current avatar. And I'm sure if they bring it out with a new look, again, people like oldies like me will say, "Oh no, I've got a pot belly. Why not the Maharaja?"
Right, Manoj. Abhishek, what would you have suggested to your client if he said that 15 din mein jaldi banao? And a issue like the Maharaja, what would have been your take?
No, I
I
think
know
if I understand,
I know we in advertising we work 3 days, 3 yesterdays,
correct,
but even
correct.
then on a more
No, if I read the question correctly, I understand what you're saying, but I strongly believe that, first of all, I'm sure McCann didn't announce it only the day they got it. I'm sure they knew about this earlier and it was a planned move. Nothing happens by accident, especially with, network agencies. We've all been part of it. I mean, there is a whole concept of when do you release that news which makes the maximum impact, right? So that is one thing. So I'm sure they knew about it before they launched it tactically at the right time, and then of course the logo was announced in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I honestly didn't follow that timeline so strongly, but that was the first point. Second point is that I genuinely don't think this logo was done in haste. I do not think that such a large move, such a big move, can be done in a matter of haste, where you're saying, "Chalo, jo bhi bana hai, abhi kisi tarah se nikal do." I do not think that the Tata Group, or for that matter, any large conglomerate, would take such a decision in that kind of a urgency. I mean, urgency, yes, but in that kind of a, was it done jaldabazi mein? I don't think so. I totally buy the point, and I totally understand the point that is being made across, and I completely endorse the fact that I think it is a deliberate move not to make the logo look or resemble Indianness, because that is no longer the possibly the way to move forward for the brand. I mean, very rightly put, if I want to fly outside the country, Air India doesn't come into my purview right now. I would rather fly in Emirates or a Qatar or a Lufthansa or a whatever, these ones. Now, if Air India does get positioned in a way where it reflects that they're giving the kind of services that we're talking about, and the fact that it doesn't look and smell like a government office anymore, and if it's an international premium airline, I think the whole attempt was to make sure that there is and more neutral kind of a logo and a more international forward-looking brand world that they want to create, rather than being bound by any kind of an Indian legacy or roots. Uh, I also buy the point that the logo is nothing exceptional. I totally buy that point, but I really, it's such a great thing that I'm hearing from you such seasoned people, that a logo at the end of it is just one component of a brand, right? And this is something that I'd heard very very early in my career. I had started with Bombay, and as a matter of fact with McCann in Mumbai, and somebody had told me I was giving out some branding options. It started my career as a wannabe copywriter kind of a thing, and I was writing some branding options, and my creative director on ex JWT, very senior person from Bombay, he said I was giving out some brand names, and he said, "Dekho, Abhishek, a brand name is nothing until what is it that you make of that brand. एक रिलायंस तो कांदीवली में भी है और एक रिलायंस अंबानी के पास भी है. So what you have made with that name is basically what counts. So therefore, the logo, like it is being discussed here, is only one component of it. The more we keep seeing the logo, the more advertising kicks in, more the customer experience kicks in. Maybe after a couple of years, we talk about the same conversation today, but the logo is obviously registered in our mind in a much more expansive way, rather than just seeing the logo right now as just a typeface and a design grammar. That's all I would like
super.
to say.
I think you have made your point there. And let me just ask you something before I go to Usman for the last session. When you were in McCann, Mumbai, this has got nothing to do with Air India. At that point of time, did your office was in that church in the Kolaba building?
No, no, it
No.
was in Lower Parel.
Lower Parade. Okay. because when the McCann and the Tarasina was in that
This is in
building
Lower
next to,
Parel. This is
yeah,
around 2007-8.
7. Okay, right, got it. Okay, Usman, now let's hear it from you. Jalbaji?
No, I don't think so, because the inside news is this account shifted, or McCann got it a couple of months back. They announced it just a month ago or something, but I'm sure they had enough time. I just remembered that, so I think we all agree that Vistara is one of the best airlines right now in India, Indian Airlines. Their planes are new, the staff is good. It's a good experience you get out of Vistara. So I happened to once fly from Delhi to Bangalore. I don't know whether you got this chance. They have made one plane. This was to celebrate Tata's 100 years of flying or something. So they had ordered one plane, brand new, which was painted like the Tata Airlines original plane. And it was a new body, completely, absolutely modern. But it was painted in that dull matte silver color with Tata Airlines in that old font written on it. So the first thing, you didn't know that you're getting into this. When you see this on the at the tarmac, you say, "Oh, what is this?" And then you get in, and they had refurbished the entire inside in a way of reminding you of that flight, of that plane. So all the air hostesses were dressed in that old cap and that tunic and all of that. And even the captains were like that. The whole experience was to relive that era. And it was one of the best flights I've had on Vistara, because obviously it was, I had not ever been on Tata Airlines. That was way, way back. But there were memories of Tata getting and becoming Air India and all of that. And they made it, so they left you with these little badges that they gave 100 years and all of that. And it was, so somewhere, if somebody really wanted to recreate that era in a very modern way, it could have been a great positioning for the brand, because most airlines are not like that. And that's a one-off plane that they've invested heavily and ordered it, custom make it, and it's there. So I think this is just a shoddy job. It's insipid. It's not thought through. At least what they should have done when they were revealing the logo, given the tagline with it. So at least you know where they're heading. Right now, it's in limbo. Nobody knows. It's just a font with a little mnemonic there, which people can't decipher what exactly it is. Logos should be very simple to decipher. I mean, Apple with a bite or a swoosh. I mean, these are very, very simple things, as Abhishek was saying, that as we get modern, the simplicity has to be there, because nobody has the time now left to decipher things. Correct. It is there, and then you have to get it in one go. So at least they should have revealed it with their tagline, if nothing else.
Right. I think, funnily, the way the whole discussion went, and I must share this with you, I intend to send the link of this YouTube actually to Tata's. And I also seriously think that this should actually be sent out, which I am going to do, to different management institutes, because the way you all have captured all the perspectives of a logo change, that too of Air India, the service, the extension, how good, jaldi, not jaldi, the whole thing is a comprehensive, in the last 45 minutes, we have actually done a comprehensive storytelling, which is very, very, academic in some ways, but yet very, very advertising or brand, as we call it. So we'll leave it at that today. And I hope that Olys Adda will continue with, and I'll be dragging you all now and then for more such Addas to come. So thank you, Manoj, coming from Bangalore. Yeah. Abhishek, you're very close to Bia, and so is Usman, his neighbor in Gurgaon. And we hope to catch you all soon, right?
Thank you. Absolute pleasure. Lovely meeting all of you.
Same here. Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Abhishek. Bye.
Welcome.
Bye.
It's been lovely. Thank you.